Hi, I'm Jacqueline Hellyer, and we're going to talk about Tantric Sex. Now, Tantra is a term used these days to cover the sexual practices and philosophies of a number of ancient traditions. These come from the Tantrics of ancient India and the Taoists of ancient China. And both of these societies studied sex as both an art and a science. And just as a lot of other Eastern philosophies and traditions have come into the West in the last few decades, such as meditation, yoga, and so forth, so too is Tantra now growing in interest and popularity. And I believe that this is in part because many of us in the West feel that something's lacking for us sexually. We know that our sexual life and our sexual experiences could be so much more than what we've been led to believe. Because in our society, we've moved from a very repressive approach to sex, which we had for some thousands of years, where sex was considered bad, base, best not done, certainly not very spiritual. And now these days, our society's switched almost to the opposite extreme, where now almost everything to do with sex is considered almost smutty, and the whole porn industry and so forth. Now, I have no problems with smut. A bit of smut is a good thing. However, it's almost as though that's all we've got in our society. And so because something's missing, people have been looking for it. And what Tantra does is it gives sex a much more holistic approach. So it blends in more with life. And so that our sex becomes life-enhancing and uplifting and good for our own personal and even spiritual development. You may have heard of Tantra as being referred to as sacred sex or spiritual sex, and certainly there is that element to it. Through these practices, you can in fact reach states of transcendence, of heightened levels of ecstasy and bliss that you can hold for a very long time. And yes, it's a spiritual experience. You're definitely flying with the angels. But there's a lot more to it than just the spiritual side. The practices alone will teach you ways of being a lover that will just make the actual sexual experience so much better, so much more arousing and so much more satisfying at a physical and an emotional level. And the other thing, and I think this is really important for modern people because we are so busy and we are so stressed, through the tantric sexual practices, your sex life actually becomes energizing. So rather than being the last thing to do on the to-do list or something you can't be bothered doing because you just don't have the energy, it actually energizes you. And it gives you a level of vitality that gives you the energy you need to live this busy modern life. Okay, because all of the tantric practices are based on sexual energy, on generating sexual energy, and about channeling and using that sexual energy. Because essentially our sexual energy is our life energy. We all come from sex. We all began with orgasm, hopefully too. So it's very much a fundamental part of life and our existence, and definitely as our humanity. With tantric sex, we're not compartmentalizing sex as just one aspect of life and something we do there. We actually encompass it in the whole of our life. So our whole life becomes a sexual expression, and we are constantly using our sexual energy. It's a little bit of a different concept to what we've mostly been used to thinking about sex. So in this series of videos, I'm going to be sharing with you a number of different practices that will enable you to be able to experience this tantric sex. And I encourage you to actually follow all of them in order because they are very important. The very basis of tantric sex is the concept of presence, of being very present in your body and of being very present in the current moment. Many of us in the West live in our heads and everything comes from the head. And there's this constant monkey chatter going on all the time that never gives our mind a rest. Which means that we're in our heads and not in our bodies, so we can't feel physically or even emotionally the way we could do. And the other thing is because we're always thinking chatter, we're either worrying about the future or thinking about the past, and we're not actually present now, in the present. In the present, there is no worry, okay? So these practices will help with that presence. And when you have that presence, you will feel more and you will connect to your partner more. And you will also be able to let go and surrender to the experience much more fully. And it's the combination of this presence, the connection, and the surrender that allows for the ecstatic experiences to occur. So it's very much too about atmosphere. It's about sensory arousal. It's about touch. And it's about generating and circulating sexual energy within your body and with your partner. I strongly encourage you to do these practices and to incorporate them both into your sex life, your love life, and into the whole of your life. Because through these, you can actually get the peace and the calmness that we all want. We can learn to harmonize and flow, and we can certainly become recharged and fill our lives full of vitality. So please watch, learn, and enjoy.